There are just some things in life that require planning, no matter how unpleasant the thought may be. And one of those is the death of a spouse. So we're here to help us with the financial aspects of that. We have Cory Sickles with Safe Harbor Financial Group. Cory, thanks for being here with us.
Glad to be here, Robin.
All right, there is a big difference, you say, and even just the people you've worked with, when you talk to somebody who did prepare financially and kind of get that paperwork out of the way versus those who didn't when they suddenly lose a spouse.
Yeah, and you know, you're going through a grieving process, and the last thing you want to have to worry about am I going to have enough money maybe by the end of the month, to pay all the bills?
Right.
So one of the things that we'll talk about today is you really got to be prepared. So when something does happen, the financial standpoint, it's pretty much taken care of. You feel secure about it, and you can kind of grieve and kind of deal with that type of, just during that time.
Right, the emotional part of it, which
Right.
is the heaviest burden at the time. So when you're working with a widow, what would you say is one of the biggest hurdles they encounter?
I think the biggest part is them not being involved. Many times they're not involved in the overall plan.
Right, while the spouse was alive. Right. Okay.
Maybe one spouse handles all the financial standpoint, and now that spouse has passed, and they're not sure what they have, or do I have issues potentially with income later on? They have a lot of questions where if they just probably took a part of the process, they'd feel a little bit more comfortable about it.
And it's interesting, you noted that not being in the know can almost put them at more risk too for predators and things like that, which we don't always consider.
That's correct, because our world, from the financial standpoint, it's all about trust.
Right.
And if you're meeting with me regularly, or once or twice a year, we see each other, we kind of have a relationship. If you don't have a relationship with me, or any other type of advisor out there, they could take advantage of you, just from putting you in products you probably shouldn't be in. Just
Right.
little things like that they can do that's going to hurt you, long term.
And you're in such a vulnerable state, a lot of times you may not be able to make smart decisions as well.
That's correct.
Easy to fall for that. So what are your suggestions to rectify the situation so that you aren't stuck in that?
Well, the first part is just get involved. I'd highly recommend, if you have a financial advisor, both of you need to attend all the meetings. You need to. Maybe you're not maybe you don't like the business side of it, but you at least kind of from a high level standpoint. Here's what I have. Here's what our income looks like. Things like that. I think that's really important. The other part is to get all your paperwork in order. The last thing you want to do is not have a will, or maybe even a trust, or your financial, health care power of attorney. You want to get all that stuff in while you're healthy. You don't want to be dealing with this stuff at the end, or you don't want things to go through probate, which could tie things up. And one of the things we do for our clients, once you have all these, all this paperwork, there's a lot of it.
Right.
Once you have all that paperwork, you're able to put it in our generational vault. Then you have access to it 24 hours, 7 days a week. Kids could have access to it, which means they could help you, during that time as well.
And I think what's also kind of interesting to note nowadays, since we do almost everything online, it's a good place too for your passwords, your usernames, what kinds of things that you store where, because we do have, even my husband, he's in charge of this credit card and my name's on this one. Yep. And there is no real kind of joint area where we can look at all of it in one place. And that is something that you need to consider.
Oh, exactly.
That's a headache.
You want to make it easier for your spouse, and if the kids are really involved, you want to make it easier for them. And passwords are that's
the bane of everyone's existence.
Every website has a different way that you have to do a password, and you have different usernames and all that type stuff. You want to be able to store that and be able to get that to the people that need it when they do need it.
Exactly. All right, Cory, I know that wills and trusts, you alluded to those. Those are some of the first things you have to deal with. So should people first and foremost make sure they have those?
Yes.
Okay.
One, you want to definitely make sure something happens that avoids probate. But more importantly, you just want to be able to make sure that if something, because it's, not only that, but your spouse could pass, or even you could pass.
Right.
That's the other side of it. You want to make sure that it goes the way that you want it to go.
A lot of times that's it, right? You want to make sure your wishes are carried through.
Don't let some judge or probate court determine on how your assets are going to be spent.
All right, Cory, any other tips before we go? And what should someone do if they are watching this too? And we've seen the markets kind of go crazy. Any advice as we go, just in general, for folks?
Well, concerning the market, what I would probably end up, saying is, I think for the next, we were just talking about this, I think for the next 30 days, we're probably going to see some volatility until all this stuff kind of irons out. I don't think there's, I don't think there's any reason not to necessarily get out of the market, kind of hold your ground. You've already lost some money, and hopefully you're allocated the correct way. But, one of the things that we can always do is sit down with, with anyone that calls in to our office, set up a complimentary, no obligation meeting. And, the other part that I would also say, it's very important is to have an income plan when you start planning for retirement as well. You want to make sure that you're going to have income that can last your lifetime. If your spouse does leave, you're going to be losing one Social Security check, and we're really here to help you and kind of guide you down that path when the time does come.
All right, definitely worth having somebody who can be a sounding board and have some great advice for you, especially in a time where, a lot of people are making kind of knee-jerk reactions. We don't want to see that happen too much. So give Cory and his team a call. It is safeharboroh.com. Thank you, Cory.
Thank you.